closet, closet,
Were your parents native of Holland,
yes.
Amsterdam? Was it Amsterdam or Holland?
Amsterdam
Amsterdam's a
is
city in
is
Holland.
the capital city of all of Holland,
Amsterdam is.
but they didn't live there. None of us lived there.
Okay, where did you live?
The Hague.
Huh?
The Hague.
H-A-G?
H-A-G-U-E. The Hague.
The Hague it's
P-H-E.
called. The Hague in Holland.
The Netherlands. Holland is a nickname that there's two provinces. One's North Holland, one's South Holland. That's the nickname that got
North
picked up
and
for all of
South
Holland.
Holland. And you lived where?
In the Hague.
In South or North?
South.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was born in a hospital called Bethlehem. Spelled Bethlehem.
You were born in a hospital? Well, you're lucky.
I'm glad I was.
I wasn't.
They had to use tongues on me. I had turned around. I didn't know. I was there,
That's
but
what
I
she told
didn't know.
you.
Yeah.
I thought you was born in a cabbage patch.
Anyway,
Born in a hospital in
The
Hague.
Hague. The Hague. T-H-E,
It's
the.
T-H-E.
The H-A-U-G-E.
Right,
H-A-G-U-E.
right. The Hague, yeah. Anyway, it's a hospital in The Hague.
And the
My
war
mom was
was
in
out
there
in
12 days before they
1942.
even let her get up.
Huh?
Really?
What did you say?
My mom was in there 12 days after I was born before they even let her get up.
Oh, I can remember how that was.
With me,
They
with
never-
Heidi,
they
within
never-
a half hour, I was in the shower, boy.
Sit over here.
Well, you have a baby and the next day you go home.
Yes, yes, they do.
Okay,
Anyways,
what do you remember about the war?
the very first thing I remember is hearing machine guns shooting down the street.
On your street. Guns on the street.
Machine guns,
Machine guns too.
Machine guns on the street.
right.
And that was German people? Germaners?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
Now, there were Dutch people that were on their side, and those were usually worse than the Germans.
So,
Dutch people that were,
but they were
Turncoats or
shooting at
whatever
each
you make
other,
them.
or were they shooting at citizens?
I don't know. I didn't,
You don't remember
She was
that.
pretty
You
we
young.
just
didn't go
remember
out and look.
They were shooting on the street, machine guns.
Yeah, and a lot of things that I remember were what were the rockets called? The V1, the V1.
What's that? A
It's a
bomber?
rocket.
Oh,
It's a rocket that, and they
Oh,
were
the
shooting,
German
Germany was shooting them to England, but most of them landed in Holland. And one of them took the chimney off of our roof.
They called it the V1.
The what?
The
V1.
V1.
The V-1.
That was the
German
name of the
V1.
rocket.
B-1,
Yes,
O-N-E?
rocket.
Yeah,
Or
Well,
V1, number
just a
one.
number one.
yeah,
V1 rockets, huh?
Mhm.
yeah. They sound like a
They have
A
a
hot
loud
rod coming,
whistle,
you know,
really loud
hot
whistle.
rod noise from the cars. They sound like,
I backfire.
yeah, kind of, and there was
No,
a flame
they
behind
whistled.
it.
I didn't ever
Whistle,
see
whatever
that.
it was.
I didn't get to look.
But when it would stop, it would come down wherever it was.
When it had run out of fuel, I guess.
Yeah, that's as far as it went.
Yeah.
And that's how they blew up a lot of the places in Holland.
So the rockets what blew up places in Holland?
Yeah,
And that
some of them didn't get to England because there wasn't enough
Most of
fuel.
them didn't.
So it stopped running. You stop hearing the noise, and the next thing you would hear is the explosion. Yeah.
So you hear an explosion, then it probably fires.
Oh yeah,
I'm
fires.
sure. I
The
don't.
result was fires.
No, I don't know.
Well,
No.
that's pretty generally the
Yeah.
case. If they blew up something, exploded, it created.
They came out with the
No.
V2, but that was right at the end of the war, and I don't know
that
if
was
they
the
ever used
first
it.
first rocket I think
This-
ever made.
This was after the occupation. The Germans had already landed
Taken
in
over.
Holland and took over the country
Hey,
when the V1 came.
this is my story.
I know.
But he's going to get his too. Here.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, that's all right because
That's
Yeah,
okay,
and
but
it
he
kinda
gets
goes
same thing
together.
happened.
They took over 5 days. In 5 days, they took over Holland.
German soldiers took it over in 5 days.
Mhm.
And that's when all those rockets started coming.
That was Holland itself or just your city?
Oh, all of Holland.
All of Holland.
Germans took
Holland is
over
so little.
Holland in 5 days.
Yeah. Anyway, food started getting less. They
Food-
took everything.
Food was scarce.
Dogs, bicycles, everything they took.
They took all transportation of any kind.
No, we only had bicycles. We didn't have cars.
So all you had was bikes.
Right.
They took your bikes.
Mm-hmm. That was our transportation.
What'd you do for food?
Well, you just scrounged around and got as much as you could, and then when we ran out, my mom and Dad let my mom take Vera and me to the northern part of Holland, the top province at the very top. It's called Friesland. And
Was she married to your dad then?
oh yeah,
So your whole family went to the north?
no, my dad had to stay and work. And
So your mother took you to the northern part?
And my grandparents were there. They lived on a farm with some other people that I guess they were renting. I don't know. I never asked them. I didn't know to ask. It was really weird because this farm, we had to sleep, they have these top floors there and they have built-in beds that close with doors. I remember I didn't want the door closed. I wanted to know what was happening. But all three of us were in that bed, my mom and both of us. Then my dad got really sick, and he had eaten tulip bulb soup, which is very poisonous, but nobody knew that.
He had eaten
And so-
some poisonous food?
Tulip bulb soup.
2 bowls of soup?
Tulip bowls.
Tulip bowls?
Bulbs.
Bulb.
Tulip
B-U-L-B.
bulbs
Uh-huh.
that they made soup out of? Okay, well, I'm just trying to get this.
That's okay.
I thought maybe he was eating out of a tulip bowl shaped like a tulip,
Oh,
see?
No.
He wouldn't care where it was. But
Well, let's
anyway,
go back to you. You went up to the northern part of Holland with
and
your
my
mother
mom was there with us, and then
to
then my
get
dad,
food,
yeah, a lot of
to find food,
oatmeal,
to find food.
oatmeal,
And you ate oatmeal?
oatmeal and oatmeal and oatmeal. I
Every-
had so much
every
oatmeal,
meal?
I don't care if it disappeared afterward. Oh,
Enough of that, huh?
I hate it.
Oatmeal probably 3 times a day, huh?
Probably, I don't know. And they cooked it
The
in
only
milk.
thing you had.
They cooked it in milk, and they cooked it and cooked it to death. And then when you took your spoon, there's all these threads hanging, and that's what killed me. Oh, it was awful. And with sugar, I guess we had sugar, probably sugar beets. Don't know, but I imagine. Anyway, then my mom got word that my dad was really sick because he'd gotten that
How far north are you talking?
very top of Holland, the very
How
top.
far?
Are we talking about 100 miles or?
I don't know about Holland. Holland is 7 times smaller than the state of Utah, all of
Yeah,
Holland.
I know
did
it's
learn
very
that,
small.
but I
So it
don't
couldn't
know
have been
about
more than-
mileage.
15 or 20 miles.
How did you
probably.
get there, on bikes or walk?
No, that was something else. It was called the Lemmer boat, Lemmer. Don't know why.
Lemmer boat,
That's
that went
Dutch.
up the river?
No, it was in a river, and we were going through. It would get to these, what are they called? Where the Germans would come on board to check things out.
Check station?
The Moss.
No, we were on a little tiny river, probably about from there to here
You were going up the river in this
in the
boat,
dark.
and it was dark. Your mom and 2 little girls.
We were in the hold, down on the bottom,
Oh,
inside.
really?
There was the little freighters that would go back and forth to the farmers out there and
Probably
rent
what it
supplies
was.
and bring supplies back. But they didn't bring supplies back anymore after the Germans took over.
So your
They
dad
took 'em
got
all.
sick.
Because they weren't going to feed the
Well,
Germans.
I was going to tell you about the boat. We're in this hold,
Just a minute.
okay.
Your dad got sick and you had to return.
My mom went back, but that's a whole different story again. I'll tell you this one first. The boat,
Your dad got sick and you had to return.
not us. She did.
She did.
Mother did.
And Mom had to return home. And he got sick, food
Oh.
poisoning from eating boiled turnips.
Tulips.
Tulips.
Bulbs.
Tulip bulbs.
Yeah.
That's
And
interesting, that I wouldn't have
he
known
was
that
so
they were.
sick that he
poisoned.
had edema so bad that if he stuck his finger in, his whole finger would disappear. It was so bad.
Oh, my goodness.
They didn't think he was going to make it, but he did.
Just a minute. From boiling tulip, TULIP bulbs. Wow.
Don't
They were
ever eat 'em.
desperate.
Yeah, yes, they were. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And he got sick. What's it called? You get sick?
It
Food
does.
poisoning.
I imagine that's how it started, but it probably went to other things because there wasn't anything to help. We had socialized
But
medicine
he did
and it worked.
recover.
It was great.
When she got back, he did recover. She took care
Sounds
of
like
him, and
he
he
got
did
through.
recover. So he didn't pass away.
He didn't. He came to America with us. And then they got divorced. Other story. Anyway, on the Lemmer boat.
He did recover. So you went up to that northern part of Holland in one of those little boats called a lemon, Lemmer,
Lemmer.
Lemmer, a lemmer boat.
That's what they called it. That was the name of the boat.
And that was just your mode of transportation, that and bicycles. Was
So
it?
that, yeah, because we weren't going to be seen. Nobody was supposed to see us go. We were in the
That's
hold
why
of
they
the
put
boat.
you
So
in the
you were in
cargo
the
hold.
When you went up, you were in the hold of the boat.
There were little tables and chairs. And there was this one drunk lady.
Well, how big of a boat was it? Was it big as this room?
I don't know how big. I don't know. I was 3.5.
In the barrier.
You don't remember. You just remember being
Cargo
down in
hold.
the hold of
And
it.
there were a lot of
Warehouse,
people.
they're
They're
small boats.
squished. They're
They're
squished
not
together.
that big. They're not seaboardy. Just on the rivers,
Just on-
River
Just
boats.
on canals. and
river
Mhm.
canals, yeah.
Anyways,
So how long after you got back together then before you came to the United States?
that's a lot of questions there. We got together when the war ended, when I was just about 6, a couple more months, and I was 10 when we came to the United States
4 years.
And how'd you get the money to come to the United States?
by selling all our stuff
By selling your stuff,
and saving whatever.
selling everything.
Did you sail to the United States out of Holland? Or
Yeah.
did you have to go through Liverpool like some
No,
of them
we went from Rotterdam.
went from Rotterdam? Okay.
On the New Amsterdam. It was the second largest ship next to the Queen
New
Mary.
Amsterdam?
And how long did it take you? 30
8
days?
days.
8
8
days?
days. It was supposed to take 7, but we got hit by a storm. Part of it it was starting, but we were a little far, so it hit the end of it.
Now, you were members of the church before you came?
That's why we
Or did
came.
you join the church in Holland, your
I was-
parents did?
My parents did. I was born in the church.
So you were born in the church. What was the year you were born?
1939, July 15th.
You're just a youngster.
And,
5
and,
years younger
and
than
your
me.
parents were already members. Well, how did they, through the missionaries or through friends? Did they join the church? Or you maybe even don't know that.
I remember being told, but I can't remember. I really can't remember that. Probably the missionaries, because we used to have missionaries over all the time for eating. And I got really upset by the way they answered. They got, And I was going to my mom and saying, can't they talk? What's wrong with them?
Maybe they didn't know how to speak that language.
Oh, they did.
Oh, right.
Sipkemaus did that really bad. And they were from Holland, and they went over there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you were members then
Yep.
of the church before you came to
The
this
church
country?
in The Hague it's like condos. All the buildings were connected together, and had a big green field in the center. Street, great big green field in the center, ran down
A
the whole
green
street.
field.
But grass. But during the war, it had bunkers all the way down there.
Oh, really?
And I
German
remember,
or German or native bunkers?
ours.
Yours, Holland bunkers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember you go in and then you go around, so if they looked, they couldn't see you. I remember that, going in there. And anyway, we had roller shades on the outside of the church, metal, that would go down.
Metal, and that was on your church building? You did have a church building?
Yeah. We
I'm
did.
surprised you did.
And it was like a granite type floor,
Metal shades.
and
And
they
what
had
kind of floor?
glasses for sacrament,
What kind of floor did you say?
like a granite. It's black and white, speckled. It was like that. I don't know. It was stone. And my parents. There's a lot to this story. You can't just, During the war, when we had no food, a friend of my dad's at his work gave him a carton of cigarettes so that he could sell it and maybe get some food. And then they were disfellowshipped from the church for a year.
So for the first year, after you came, your mom and dad got back together? So when they, church
No,
helped?
well, where are we now? We're in, they were back
Well,
together.
you just told me about the sea of grass in between the buildings with bunkers on. And at that time,
They were together.
they were together. You told me that they got
That was
divorced after
before
they came to the country.
That's where you went, before you went north then.
And you sold everything and what you had saved up to that point and what you could sell, you paid your passageway. And
The
it was-
last thing
and
we
it was
had
on
was
a
this
ship
old
called-
chandelier hanging there with silk ripped and some guy walking by gave us 5 guilders for it. He says, I'll take it. So,
What
5
was that?
guilders. The house was empty, and the last thing that we had hanging that wasn't silk was like an old chandelier with silk material and stuff. And he wanted to see it, and so he came in and he bought it for 5 guilders,
How
like
mu-
$5.
Okay. I bet you were telling me about New Amsterdam. You said that ship was new?
No,
They called it a New
that's
Amsterdam.
New Amsterdam,
That
That
they
was
called the
its name.
ship the New Amsterdam.
right.
I didn't get that all down.
And they used it during the war, I guess, part of it too, like the Queen Mary. They
Yeah,
used it too
New
during the war.
Amsterdam. So when you come to the United States, where did you come? Into New Orleans or New York? Or?
We had friends that took us in. We had a sponsor. Yeah, everybody has to have sponsors.
Well, where
Ours
were-
was
who
called
was your-
Hiram Young.
Where was your sponsor at?
Were you in New York?
Oh yes, we were in New York. We did not stop at Ellis Island,
Okay,
luckily.
you went through Ellis
Really?
Island?
No.
You did?
I did.
So your sponsor was in New York?
Yes, no, sponsor was not in New York. We landed in New York. My dad was the only one, there were a whole bunch of Dutch people from our church that went at the same time. My dad was the only one that could speak English. And
Your
he
dad
got
could
us,
speak English.
and he got us all of us together onto one Greyhound bus
Really?
and drove to Salt Lake, and we kept changing buses. We were singing songs
So
one
you were
time,
bus from New York to Salt Lake?
3 days.
What year was it when you got into Salt Lake then?
3 days later, we arrived on, let me think, we left 1949, and we got there 1949. So we arrived 3 days later, and we arrived, let me
It
think,
took you 3
October,
days from New
we
York.
took off October 11th and arrived October 19th and got in Salt Lake City on October 21st.
Okay.
2021.
So what have we missed that I didn't ask you?
Gee, I'm impressed that they were able to make it from New York to Salt Lake in a bus in 3 days.
He drove
Well-
continually, did not stop, just to let them out.
I was gonna
Go to
say,
the bathroom
they
and
didn't
get fuel.
No, the bathroom was on the bus.
Well, they had to get fuel. They couldn't drive for 3 days without
No,
stopping.
they stopped for
Yeah.
fuel, of
But
course.
about your sponsor, that's interesting. Who was your sponsor?
I think his name was Hiram Young. Can't even talk it over with
And-
my sister now.
And he
They
let
had us over once in a while for food and asked if we
who
were
was,
okay.
what was their name though, your sponsor?
Hiram Young,
Hiram Young.
Hiram Young.
and they
Okay.
lived in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So when you got there, then they helped you find housing and,
No, these Dutch people that we knew, that's who we stayed with. That they were, this is really funny. You don't have to write this. They were, they had multiple wives.
Multiple what?
Multiple wives.
Wives. Oh,
person.
yeah,
Oh.
polygamy.
Polygamist. Uh-huh.
The ones, and
That's what they did in
you know
that day.
you know what's funnier? When we moved to California, after the whole thing, Bud and I were married. We had 2 kids. We moved to California, Westminster. The church that we were in, one of the boys that was in this polygamous house was a bishop there.
Huh.
Isn't that funny? You find him after all this time. And he went on a mission to Holland too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Not necessarily that the kids do any of it. They mostly don't like it.
They'd really go somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah. So, but anyway, our friends helped us find a house.
And then your dad and mother were still together at that time when they,
Oh, yeah.
and they run this bakery.
Where did we get a
What
bakery?
did, I don't know, I thought that's where he met you, was in the bakery.
No, he
No.
met me in a Dutch
Restaurant.
delicatessen.
Well, did they run a delicatessen then? Or what did you do for a living?
My dad was an insuranceman, salesman, but when he got here, he worked at ZCMI. He was doing air hammers, or what are those called, where they go to and breaking up things?
Cement?
He did anything and everything.
Jackhammers?
ZCMI, he became a janitor, and he worked himself all the way up through to the top. He became the head honcho in the financial department.
Your dad.
Wow.
Your
That's
dad
interesting.
And he had all these
was a
apostles
janitor.
coming in with checks and stuff, all from the church, because it was right there. ZCMI went in here and came out that side, so it took up this whole corner. Right on this side across was the church.
Your dad was a
The big
family
building.
janitor.
No,
Yeah.
the big church office with the steps that go way up
Yeah.
and you go inside.
Well, let's go back. Your dad was a janitor for CCMI?
And he worked his way up to be a head financial officer.
Yeah, he was in charge of the whole financial department. And he worked in the supply department for a long time. And I was going to school, one of the places, and I'd stop by there. I was going to West High School. Anyway, and I'd stop there and they'd have these three-sided carts and then just one set of wheels, you know, you tip from one side to the other. I'd sit in there and do my homework. And if there was parade, like when George Albert Smith passed away and he went to parade, we were right up there by the windows upstairs across from the
So you could
church
see the
office.
parade from the windows.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
And that was George Albert Smith.
Were you there in 1947?
49,
49.
October 49. Everything happens in my life in October, I think. Like
There
Vera
was-
passing away now.
There
in
was a
October.
commemoration parade, 100-year in Salt Lake City in
47.
1947.
Really, we missed
I
it.
marched in that with a band.
He even missed it. He came a year earlier.
48.
Yeah.
I worked for CCMI myself
Did
when I
you?
lived in Salt Lake.
My mom worked in the houseware department and in the shoe department, and I hated that place. You know, you have to come to see your mom after school, and all they do is look at your shoes. When you walk in, all the shoe people are walking, looking at your shoes. It's awful.
Funny thing you'd remember that.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it is because that's
You got a better
feel
memory
really
than I got.
weird.
Well, you think, well, my mother works in the shoe department, can she afford to buy me some decent shoes? That's probably what they're thinking, huh?
Well, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of money because when you first come from another country, you're starting over.
You
Yeah.
bet.
You have nothing really. When we first came to Desert, what were they called?
Desert Industries.
I guess the bishop took us there and gave us some furniture, beds, and the
And you-
neatest quilts. So nice.
And so and did you get a job at Desert Industries? Did your dad and mother work there for a while?
Worked
They
for
just got
ZCMI.
furniture from them.
Just because we just got here and we went to church. And everywhere I lived in Salt Lake City later on got torn down and there's freeways and I ended up on 2nd West, which was really 300 West Street, but that's okay. Unless you lived there, you wouldn't
Yeah.
know.
I lived
Anyway,
there, I know where that is.
2nd West and 6th South, and there's all freeways
Oh,
there
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
We lived in Salt Lake for several years.
Did you? Where did you live?
Well, the last time we lived up on 23rd South by Olympus High School. We lived just down the street from the seminary building. And before that, we lived between 33rd and 39th South
On 11th.
on
Right.
1100 block.
Was that Mariette?
That was not too far from Sugar City.
Sure.
And when I worked for CCMI, it was the Cottonwood Mall. And I used to count all the money that came in through the registers every day when I would
Nice.
Go in there at 7 in the morning and empty the safe and go to work.
Wow.
Mm,
But that's what I was doing.
yeah.
But then we moved to Denver. But that's my story. I'm not into that.
No.
What else should I know?
How did you two
Oh,
meet?
I understand you met at the deli.
What would you two say?
How you met?
Oh, I was working at this Dutch deli because they were friends of my dad's, and so he got me the job.
Dutch deli.
I did not like him. Had too many hands. You don't eat
And he was a
that.
friend of your dad's.
He didn't know. Never knew. Never told him. I could take care of myself.
Yep.
Few good slaps here and there.
And this was your first marriage when you married?
Yeah.
But, and it was his second marriage?
Yep.
Had your wife passed away?
Yeah. Not while I was still with her.
You were
She
with
was
her
in a
when you
mental
met her.
hospital. And I got a divorce from her.
And she was in a mental hospital.
and
Well,
I met
we'll get
her.
that in your history.
Right.
And then you had
His mom came to work there
his mom.
after a couple of years. I don't know. I'd been there a long time, since I was 15.
Yeah.
It was right the next block over from Temple Square,
Yeah, in those days it would have been.
right across the street from the Greyhound bus station.
Yep,
Yeah,
That's where it
I
was.
remember that.
Yeah.
okay.
And so what year is this now?
1949.
49.
No, that's when we came. Sorry. This was when I was 15 years old.
Well, 39 and 15,
Do 40. Works easier.
1954. By that time, I was married to Keith.
No, you weren't.
When did you get married?
That's
Married
right,
me
you
in
were still in the
55.
Navy, weren't you?
I was in North
We were married in the 55.
West Pacific at that time,
Okay.
boat floating.
So then Bud would come to the deli. Is that how you met him?
Yeah,
And
and
his
then we
mother
just
worked there.
started talking, and she says, "Stay away from him." And I said, "Why?" "No, you don't need to know. Stay away from him." So I didn't. Not when I get told like that. I don't do things. So I
You're a
found out.
stubborn old girl, huh?
Of course. Anyway, it got to a point where he had two small boys, and he hired me to take care of the boys while he went to work at night.
Is that what you worked as night shift?
Night shift, yeah.
For who?
For
IML.
IML, Interstate Motor
Oh, okay.
Lines. IML Freight Incorporated,
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
yeah. A big trucking outfit.
And you had two boys.
He did.
Boys,
His story.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and Yvonne took care of them.
he picked me up in the, when did you pick me up? To take us there.
No, I think you came down the house, didn't you?
I came down,
the
it was all in
evening,
Salt
and then I
Lake.
went
This
to
was
work.
before we moved to Bountiful. Okay.
Yeah. I was still living next to my in-laws. It was a duplex,
On both sides.
yeah. And she came and took care of them, took them to school. Got them ready to go to school. Cause I get off at 8 in the morning,
And
wouldn't
you
get,
took the
So you
get
worked
there
night
till
shift,
around
huh?
8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, you
And
know?
you worked night shift then?
Yeah. Yeah, I was night shift all the time.
Oh my God, how many
And
years?
for what company?
IML.
Interstate Motor Lines, IML.
INL,
And
Interstate.
He still gets letters from them saying where all the money's going. We'll never get any of the money that they owe us.
Interstate
I don't know if they're still
National
in
Freight.
business or not.
Motor lines,
Interstate,
interstate motor lines.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the first title. Then they incorporated to IML Freight
That's okay.
Corporation or
That's okay.
company, whatever.
We used to have quite a fleet, as I recall.
Yeah, I worked for him, I think about 13 years.
As a mechanic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started out as a grease monkey and made 65 cents an hour for a grease visit. That was in 50, I think 51 when I started with him. 1951.
Before my time.
Yeah, but I was married to Pauline and my former wife. But you want to start right in the middle?
I'm ready to start listening to you, Bud.
Anyway, that's where we kind of get together, you know, in that time of age.
I got married in
You know what?
59.
My watch has stopped.
Well, it's 5 minutes to 5.
Okay, I was gonna say,
You
keep
got-
track
you
of
got
our time,
half
because
an
we've got to
Can we
meet
see
with.
our clock here?
hour. I know. I'll keep you on
No,
track.
I can't see it. Where is the windmill? Is it there?
yeah.
Oh, it's hiding right back there.
Okay,
5 to
I
5.
remember from Bud's story, he lived on an island
In the,
Off
in
of-
the river.
Off
On the Moss, on the Moss.
It's a great
That's
big river.
MOUSE,
MAAS.
M
AAS.
AAS.
Mass.
Moss.
AS, on the mouse,
It's the main river that comes from
the main
the
river.
North Sea into Holland, and it goes all the way around France, Germany, those,
Go into Holland,
yeah,
All the big
they
ships
were
coming in.
freighters,
big freighters.
yeah, and it was, my dad's company was one of the freighters. It's like a trucking outfit here, but over there it was the ships, and these were freighters that would go from the freight to, on the Maas going to Germany, Belgium, France, and probably Italy too. It all goes around in there. And he was the head honcho there and the mechanic stuff, taking care of the ships. And I was, well, I think I was around, I'm thinking of my age when I tried. When
I don't know.
it was before the war started, so it was 1940. I was born in 1930, so in those years I
So you
remember.
were born in 1930,
Yeah,
and you were in Holland,
in Holland,
Rotterdam.
Rotterdam.
Rotterdam,
Uh-huh.
ROTHER.
Rotterdam.
She's not a good speller. Marilyn isn't.
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
A rotter could be ROTHER for I'm concerned. That's
You
what
wouldn't
it sounds
say it
like.
that way though.
Don't mess with that watch.
I'm
Get
just
your notes.
setting it. What time is it?
It's 2 minutes,
There's the
3
windmill
minutes
right there, and it's got the clock
before
in it.
5.
Yeah.
Right behind Marilyn.
What time is it?
3 minutes before 5.
We'll have to tell Stan it's not working right.
The thing is, I packed all my batteries too, and I will be without a watch for several days.
No, just go into Walmart or someplace and they'll put one
replace
in
it.
for
Between
you.
now and I leave in the morning at
In the
7.
morning.
Well, no, but on your
On
way,
your
when you
way, yeah,
stop
any
and
of
have
them.
lunch
Walmart.
tomorrow.
All right. I'll worry about that later. I remember Bud's story when he said he was 9 years old when the war broke out.
Yeah.
Okay, Bud, you start
We,
talking.
the first thing I seen was at the water planes, you know, like they have at the place out here for sightseeing, those kind of planes, a 2-seater with pontoons on them.
Mm-hmm.
Planes with pontoons.
Okay, I was we living right on the edge of the river, of the Maas. And underneath was the company, and the whole works was underneath. We had to go up the stairs into it was kind of a company compartment, I guess, apartment.
You lived in an apartment up above?
Yeah, well, it was several rooms. There was a front room and just a room, as they call it, and then the kitchen, and there was a
Between
big veranda, what do you call it?
Veranda.
Veranda outside the back, where my dad made a wooden walk so I could ride my tricycle on it.
His
I
mom
remember-
told me something. He was
That's
driving
things I
on the
remember.
edge of the river where the wall dropped, and he was riding his trike, and he was 3 years old. She says he was afraid to say anything for fear
That's what they
he'd,
tell me, I don't remember
he'd have
that
fallen
part
in the
of it.
water.
But anyway, these planes, there was about 3 or 4 coming over our house, and I seen them land in the water, in the river, you know. And across the river was the Dutch Marines stationed. But evidently the German didn't know that, so they went over on that side. And I noticed this, I remember this well, a German guy started climbing up the ladder to get on the wall, and here comes another guy out, and I guess it was a Marine, and he shot him and he fell back in the water. That's the first thing I seen when the war started.
The Germans were not aware of that when they first landed.
No, then they came back and they started occupying the island, because they had to get a foothold in there somehow to get to France and Belgium, and that.
What happened to all the shooting from one side to other across the
Well,
island?
wait, I'm coming to that. Anyway, so we got told to just stay put, stay in the houses, not to get on the street by the Germans. And there were neighbors of ours. They put out the German flag out of the window. They were
Turncoats.
traitors, you know.
Yeah.
Those were
Dutch.
the worst ones.
Anyway, so they.
Who told you to do that?
Well, these were evidently the Germans picked out the ones that put out their German flags, and they got together and told the rest of us to stay in the houses. So I'll call them two-faced Dutchmen, because they were German.
Sympathizers.
Yeah, that's it. So we stayed in, and then shortly after we heard a lot of noise in the sky, and we looked up, and here comes several bombers, German planes, bombers, and they dropped the bombs right overhead. We thought we was going to bomb, you know, but
As
the
the
bombs
plane
would
travels, the
slide
bombs
over across the river and hit the Marine place and other places in the city.
At Marine Station, they were after that.
Yeah, they were trying to make room so they couldn't cross the bridge. There's a big bridge. There's a bridge on one side of the island, and it comes open for the big freighters to come in from the ocean.
I see. Mhm.
Okay, on the other side, there's a solid bridge, and that has a train across a bridge, a train bridge, and it raises straight up when a big ship
Oh, I've
comes
seen
through
those
there.
kind.
They just opened like this.
Yeah, well,
No, up-
train
this,
goes
this
straight
one,
up and
the
down.
one on the other side would come like that. The one on the other side had a solid bridge,
Yeah.
And it would come
and
this
it
section.
had a train bridge next to it, and that section would come straight up
Straight up. I've seen that.
if it had to come. So anyway,
Is that the bridge you ended crossing on?
no, we crossed on the one that come up this
The
way.
tilt.
Now this was fired on from the Marines across that bridge, keeping the Germans off of the island from the south, you know. They came from the south. I guess it's north or south, whatever. Anyway, so then there was a Dutch warship on the end of the inlet by the ocean and the mast, and they were shooting across to keep the Germans from crossing. but the thing got, the ship must have aimed wrong because it got it's at the end of the island where a big peanut factory was. They shot a
Oh, no.
grenade into that and it starts the island on fire.
So it was the Dutch ship that started the fire then?
Yeah, the Dutch warship.
Hmm.
But they just aimed wrong, but they got the thing on fire. And in the meantime, the city across the way was all on fire because they dropped all these bombs.
Uh-huh.
That's when we surrendered, but they didn't get the message across the bombardiers. They went ahead and bombed anyway. This is what I've been reading about.
Germans
some of
didn't
them,
care.
yeah. Now most of this is when they started shooting back and forth, why the bullets were flying across our apartment through the house. Some of that went down and got. This is getting a little touchy.
It's okay.
But anyway, you got the big timbers, great big timber boards,
Timber boards?
and he got that from downstairs where the company had the supplies, and he boarded up all the windows that was facing the river. And then he put a cable, a rope from one end of the window to the way through the house to where the back door was, and told us not to walk on that side because that's where the bullets were flying.
To keep the bullets from entering the house.
Yeah,
Not from entering the
so
house.
that was the only safe place. But then,
It was going through the house, but that's where they were kept away from, on the
Yeah,
other
I
side of the
understand,
house.
yeah.
so then the place got fire, more fire on more homes. Building got on fire. It was spreading, so they told us we had to get off the island. So we took what we had on our backs, and it was my sister, my little brother, my mom and dad.
So you took everything you owned in
Not
you could
much,
carry.
just what we had on our,
on your backs?
yeah, and I think my mom had a little suitcase or something. And then we went to, crossed into, out of the back house, back door, over some buildings, and there was a construction site there being built. My dad put some cement bags all around us, and we slept there for 2 nights until they kept saying that the whole island was going to burn. I remember.
Now, I'm lost somewhere. So this was before you crossed the bridge.
Yeah.
You were sitting on on the bank with
No, we went into a construction
a
place.
construction place.
Yeah.
And how many members of your family?
Oh, it's 4, 5 of us.
So 3 kids and your parents?
All 3 kids were 5 years apart.
Okay.
She had 3 separate families.
Anyway, and they told us we was able to cross the bridge and go
Was that our bell?
on the south.
I was wondering if that was the bell, like somebody was
No.
starting to ring the bell.
Anyway,
It could be somebody.
so we
It's
got up
Downstairs,
that
yeah.
day and
It's my
we
iPad.
headed for the bridge, and there was German soldiers with machine guns and everything keeping us on the island because they was figuring probably to keep a safe place as long as we were there. In the meantime, the Marines were still shooting across the bridge, keeping everybody
Marines.
getting off our own. So finally, Dad made up his mind, I guess. He says, we gotta get off. Because the fire was still raising heck over there. And we didn't know if the whole thing was gonna burn off or not. So he says, we gotta take a chance and get across.
Somebody at the door. I knew it.
probably.
Your dad told us you must get across the bridge.
Yeah.
Hi there.
How are you?
And they
Come
weren't
here.
gonna let his dad go. 'Cause he said he's staying.
Hey, Derek.
How are you guys?
Hi there.
Hi. How are you?
Fine.
Good.